Peace, everybody, on this Vote or Die Night. Like, share, subscribe this video, send it out. And before we even get this kicked off, let's get this out of the way, shall we?
Let's all hate these people, because maybe hate is what we need. The first thing they do is start shouting police brutality.
He was born in Kenya and he lived in Indonesia.
The state of Hawaii says this is official. He was born in Hawaii.
A lot of people do not think it was an authentic certificate.
Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke?
I don't know anything about David Duke.
I'm just talking about David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan here, but...
I don't know, honestly, I don't know David Duke.
What do you see as the biggest problem with the Reform Party right now?
Well, you've got David Duke just joined, a bigot, a racist, a problem. I mean, this is not exactly the people you want in your party.
Look at my African American over here.
We're building a wall. He's a Mexican. He is giving us very unfair rulings.
He's not from Mexico.
In my opinion,
he's from Indiana.
He is his Mexican heritage. These thugs being thrown into the back of a paddy wagon. I said, please don't be too nice. Very fine people on both sides.
Why do we want these people from, quote, all these countries here?
These aren't people. These are animals.
He once asked me if I could name a country run by a black person that wasn't a
Female Democrat congresswomen who are foreign born, he suggests, should go back to where they came from.
Have you heard the president use the N-word? Yeah.
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
A well-educated black.
Puerto Rico. These are animals.
Look at my African American over here.
Talks that way, the way he did on this tape, it confirmed that he is truly a racist.
A well-educated black has a tremendous advantage over a well-educated white. A black may think that they don't really have the advantage. If I was starting off today, I would love to be a well-educated black.
They don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like Indians to Indians. It would be 9 blacks against 9 whites, all highly educated, very smart, strong, beautiful people, right? Pocahontas? Is it offensive? Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry about that. Pocahontas? I think she's as Native American as I am, okay? When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. I want surveillance of certain mosques. Negotiating with China. They say, we want deal. I'm asking for the vote of every single African American citizen in this country. What do you have to lose? You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs. 58% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell do you have to lose?
Look at my African American over here. Look at him.
We are from India. All of my friends in Little Havana. We are also praying for the people of Puerto Rico. We love Puerto Rico. And we also love Puerto Rico. Come here. You're not nervous, right? Speaks perfect English.
No, I'm not a racist. I am the least racist person that I can tell you.
So yes, Trump is racist. And let's just add on to his resume. He ramped up mass incarceration by revitalizing the war on drugs. He also elected federal and Supreme Court judges that are mainly white, mainly conservative. I know a lot of y'all like that because you think that, well, conservative judges are going to put in laws that are going to help black people. Regarding abortion and other conservative platforms. He's not thinking about you, folks. All right? These guys aren't conservative themselves. We just saw one of the leaders of the conservative right get literally caught with their pants down. They don't care about stuff like that. But for some reason, you feel that's going to help you. He also supported the Department of Justice, who happen to engage in unlawful voting purges that make it difficult for black people mainly to vote. He also ended protection for predatory lenders. Who does that affect the most? You as black people. It's disproportionately affects black people. He also ignored the affordable housing crisis. And that tripled the risk to poor people, to poor tenants, black people, of course, in public housing, and it mostly affects us. He also said 15,000 recent immigrants from Haiti have AIDS, and 40,000 Nigerians wouldn't want to go back to their huts in Africa. Actually, he sounds like an FBA, so he sounds like FBA ADOS. So I mean, a lot of people, a lot of blacks will actually like that. Who knows? And of course, he hired a white nationalist, Steve Bannon, as his chief strategist, right? He called African countries shithole countries. Again, another FBA talking point. So this man has done a lot of stuff, but you know, when you listen to some of what you heard, some of the stuff I can't disagree with. The Pocahontas stuff. Okay, a lot of $5 Indians out there. People who aren't Aboriginal. Elizabeth Warren lied about that. She's a white woman. These aren't Aboriginals. These aren't Africans we're talking about. A lot of these Indians, let's face it, they grab a rubber band and tie it into a ponytail, and boom, they're Indians. And they don't give a damn about black people. Illegals. Again, a lot of these illegals, some of them come over here and they think they're white. Like that fool from the Proud Boys. Like the Ted Cruzes of the world. Like the Marco Rubios of the world. Basically white people who come here and they hate you more than your original slave master ever can hate you. And the N-word, like, so what? Folks, I got news for you. Most of your friends at work, your white friends at work, the guys who you have lunch with and that you watch sports with, and a lot of them said the word nigger a bunch of times. They go home, they sit in front of their TV, they eating dinner, they probably say nigger more times in 1 hour than you said in a week. So that's not a big so what I can't stand, and I think a lot of black people cannot stand, is this idea that we should vote Biden mainly because Trump is racist. And my question is, how different is Biden than Trump when it comes to race? Biden did the crime bill back in '94, correct? The Central Park 5, or the Central Park incident, that happened in 1989. The boys were convicted in 1990. Do you really think Trump and Biden weren't in league? I mean, 4 years is a short time. They weren't in league around that time as far as their thinking is concerned? Those two were brothers in arms as far as that's concerned. Go ask 94 Trump what he thought about the crime bill. A guy who just openly asked for 5 innocent black boys to get executed. But let's look at Biden's history, and you'll see that they're not too different. Like when Biden said, we have this notion that somehow if you're poor and you cannot do it, poor kids are just as bright, like a chimpanzee, as talented as white kids. You had a dumbass rich white kid running the country. Or how about when he was talking about Obama when he first got elected? He said, wow, I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African American, who was articulate and bright and clean and a nice looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man. I mean, that he's still saying the man thing. I mean, that's as racist as fuck. But keep in mind, Obama picked him, right? Oh, but we're not finished. Unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things. This was just this year. But let's move on. How about, I mean, it's too obviously if you ain't black, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. I mean, obviously that's the obvious. But how about he's going to let big banks? He's talking about Romney at this time. This was back in 2012. He's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains. Now, keep in mind, Wall Street was a trading center for slaves. So this just shows you how out of touch and tone deaf this dude is. But oh, no. We still got more. I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro. This was back in 73, by the way. He said good for the South and good for the Negro. Good for the black in the South. And other than that, they still call me boy. And I don't think I think they've changed their mind. Now, to be fair, Negro, they stopped using Negro around 76 when they changed, I think they changed the Negro, United Negro Front and United Black Front. I think it was 76 they changed it, but still. This just gives you how ingrained this racist mindset is that Biden has. But wait a minute, I'm not finished yet. How about when Joe Biden, back in the 70s still, received support from Mississippi Senator James Eastland and Democratic chairman of the Judiciary Committee and a leading symbol of Southern resistance to desegregation. Now this guy, this was a scumbag right here. He frequently spoke of blacks as, quote, an inferior race. Interestingly enough, Biden also gave a eulogy at James Byrd's funeral, another Klansman. And he says, surprisingly, in what way may the fact that he would solicit the support of a staunch, this was somebody was saying this, they were surprised that he solicited the support of a staunch segregationist. But check this one out. This is from an article, and this is actually from Biden's book. He said, when speaking about this guy, he said, I think he was flattered by my deference I showed him, Biden wrote in his book. And at the end of my first term, Eastland gave me a spot on the judiciary, right? After joining the Judiciary Committee in 1977, Biden wrote, Mr. Eastland asking to become the chairman of the National Penitentiaries Subcommittee. Later that year, he sent Mr. Eastland a letter seeking the chairmanship of the Criminal Laws and Procedures Subcommittee. Mr. Biden was a favorite of Mr. Eastland. He said favorite of Mr. Eastland's in the Senate, according to the book, Big Jim Eastland, The Godfather of Mississippi. This is a book by J. Lee Annis Jr., by the way. I'll leave the article in the description. Aware that Biden shared his opposition to busing and admiring that he had contemplated resigning his seat to take care of his two surviving sons, Eastland took an interest to him. This is around when Biden's first wife died. Referring to the 1972 car accident that claimed the life of Mr. Biden's first wife and daughter. When Mr. Eastland retired from the Senate in 1978, Mr. Kennedy took the chairmanship of the Judiciary Committee for 2 years. But after Democrats lost 12 Senate seats in the 1980 elections and became the minority party, Mr. Kennedy yielded the ranking position to the committee, on the committee to Mr. Biden. That was Ted Kennedy. So you can read that on the article that I leave. But again, the associations that this guy has had. So when Trump says he's been in politics all this time and has done nothing, and that he's just as racist, Trump wasn't lying. Oh, how about this? How about lying that you marched in the civil rights movement? How much of a scumbag do you have to be to say that? And to the point that they had to track him down. You got guys like James Tapper. Fuck him too, by the way. You have James Tapper coming in saying, hey, we're catching you out there in the lying on the about marching in civil rights. How about lying that you got arrested when 30 years ago when Mandela walked out of prison? How about lying about going? He's saying you went to South Africa and got arrested, and they had to track that down as well. See, this guy will say anything to make you feel comfortable with him. When the fact is, when you look at the two, him and Trump, they're no different. But hold on a second. It's Biden and Harris. And Harris is no better, by the way. And for those people who think that Harris is somehow this black woman, first of all, she ain't black. Let's just go through some of her history too, because this woman, one of the reasons why I don't care if Trump gets elected again, there's nothing fake about Trump. These two are phonies. What really turned me off about Biden and Harris, and really the Democrats, they look at black men like we're stupid. And I truly believe a lot of when you see black people, for example, Ice Cube decides he wants to go out and test the waters. KRS-One had some independent thoughts. I don't want to say Kanye because Kanye's attention is an attention whore. He's not serious. But hell, someone like, what's his name? Van Jones. Anytime we independently move ahead, black men are attacked. Like stay in your place, like you're pulling a chain around our neck telling us we got to stay in place, you got to follow in line. And I think a lot of black men openly are saying, you know what, F that, I'm going to vote for Trump. For many reasons. One guy I heard say they want to vote for Trump because it's good to watch white people fight with each other and chaos amongst them is good for us. That's strategy though. That's strategy. So I don't mind that. But let's talk about your girl Kamala, $3 Kamala. This woman, here it is. And I'll leave this article in. This is just from an article over in the Miami Herald. Throughout her career, Harris, a woman of South Asian and Jamaican ethnicity. Now let's stop there. Just because you're Jamaican doesn't mean you're black. This woman's a white woman. Yeah, I just said it. She's a white woman. Her family, her lineage are lineage of people who owned slaves. South Asian and Jamaican ethnicity has been several black. She's not black. It says several black first and on the basis of her race and gender. And now again, as Biden's VP pick, she's gained the spotlight in the global age through her mother's Tamil Brahmin's upbringing, likely afforded her the Indian equivalent of white privilege. But let's go to the good part of this. Obviously, she went to Howard, blah, blah, blah. I've heard people say that, well, because she went to Howard, that she loves black people, or just because she was an AKA, she loved black people. Listen, you know why she went to Howard? She went to Howard for the same reason you see a average looking chick hang around with not so good looking chicks. Like a woman who stand out like a sore thumb. I've seen this before. Women who, you put them around real dimes. I mean, they look like ogres, but they look pretty decent and they hang around real ogres. Okay, and they look like they're the dime of the piece. She went there because she knew that she'd stand out. And you saw her in some of the old pictures with the salt and pepper hairstyle and the chunked earrings. She stood out. She liked the attention. She really didn't love you that much. And to preface my point, here goes. Under Harris, the New York Times recounted, prosecutors unlawfully held back potentially unsculpatory evidence in the case of George Gage, resulting in a 70-year sentence at San Quentin on charges of sexual abuse. Those charges were later proven false and dismissed by a trial judge, but upheld under appeal on technicality. Because Harris declined to withdraw prosecution, Gage, now 80, and partially blind, remains incarcerated still 20 years later. All right? Under Republican Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, Harris tried to reduce the number of school dropouts that ended up in prison. This perhaps was a noble effort navigated catastrophically. Under her truancy law, Parents could be penalized at the discretion of the school administrator. Of course, prosecutors could bring charges against parents, and parents could see a year in jail plus a $2,500 fine. Mind you, these were mainly poor parents. So $2,500, that's a lot. The results, life-altering criminal records and financial burdens often falling on single-parent heads of mostly black and brown households. Exhibit A, Cherry Peoples. She's the parent of a child born with the debilitating disease sickle cell anemia. Peoples suffered the public humiliation of a broad daylight arrest under the truancy law. In an interview with attorney Antonio Moore, she said that she's been in recent talks with her daughter's school about a Section 504 plan, an effort to spare the troubles they would eventually encounter anyway. And Harris made sure of it. We're putting parents on notice. This is Harris. If you fail in your responsibility to your kids, we are going to work to make sure you are the full face and the full force of the consequences of the law. Now, Harris, of course, who doesn't have kids, who basically slept her way to the top. Yes, she did. Willie Brown's bottom bitch. So she slept her way to the top. And it says, then predictably following an announcement of her bid in the Democratic presidential primaries, after years of having stood by her truancy law, Harris apologized. A lot of good it did after the damage is done. On Pod Save America, she expressed remorse that anything that I could have led to parents' arrest and incarceration, Harris is relying on our good sportsmanship to overcome her past. She's asking for trust from the same black communities that she oppressed. It says there's a tendency for among some to claim victory every black first, regardless of virtue. Today, Kamala is being paraded by AKAs to black female Howard grads, to black male professional spaces in a way she doesn't deserve. All right? And I don't need her saying we need the ancestors for you. You don't share our ancestry. And you're speaking to a guy myself whose whole family's from Jamaica. Being from Jamaica doesn't mean you're black. So when you vote, stop voting thinking that Trump is worse than Biden. Really, you're just looking for the better slave master. Okay, and I'm going to be honest with you. Face it, we're kind of used to Donald Trump. Whoever wins, it doesn't matter. But to me, Donald Trump, we're used to him at this point. And Donald Trump is unhinged. He may do, one thing about him, he doesn't give a shit. That's part of his appeal. So he may put in things that may inadvertently help black people. Stop saying that he's doing this strictly for blacks. He doesn't care about black people. He's racist. But Biden's racist. They're both racist. You just want to find out who makes you more comfortable. I'm comfortable with Trump right now. I don't give a shit if he gets elected. To be honest with you, this man's more entertaining, if anything. There may be certain things that he does. Listen, he hates China, but China right now is trying to take over Africa. So maybe certain things he does with China or doesn't do may loosen up things in Africa. Have you ever thought of that? So there's a lot of benefits to maybe having this guy in office. And when Biden gets into office, he's going to be worse, in my opinion, because you're going to fall right back to sleep. And heaven forbid he dies and Kamala takes over, you'll be comatose at that point. Stop asking yourself or being afraid of this boogeyman type of, this boogeyman image that the Democrats are trying to put on you. Stop acting like you don't know what may happen. Here's all you need to start asking yourself. Stop saying to yourself, what are these whites going to do to me? And start asking yourself, what haven't they done? What haven't they done up to this point to oppress you? Kept you out of jobs, check. Enslaved you, check. Kept you out of resources, check. Redlined you, checked. Discrimination, check. What haven't they done? Mass incarceration, check. Mass abortion, check. What haven't they done? At this point, the element of surprise might have a level of excitement to it. And good luck, whoever it is. Whether you voted for Trump or not, I don't know who you voted for or who you're not going to vote for. At the end of the day, what does it matter, folks? You're black, you're under a system of Caucasoid rule, and it's just a matter, do you want to go into the frying pan or do you want to go into the fire? The choice is yours. So, peace. Can't wait to see what happens when this election's over. Like, share, subscribe. Big up on yourself.